One day away from the San Francisco 49ers taking on the New Orleans Saints, and I've got a draft steal alert, a rookie who's going to be a real problem in the best of ways, a great Purdy update, a final update on Mac Jones ahead of the game, and more on today's episode. Let's get after it. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Appreciate all of you so much. I read over 40 comments from yesterday's video, and I love every single bit of it. Appreciate you guys. Some of you who disagree with me, that's cool. I respect it. That's part of the fun of talking sports. Am I right? Now, I want to get into a question real quick because this one is a really, really intriguing one. I'm seeing it in the national narrative. I'm seeing it in, just Bay Area natives. I'm seeing it all over the place. You've got a backup quarterback coming into the game. So let me ask you a question. If you had to choose, who is more important to the 49ers' success in New Orleans? Is it offensive production or defensive production? I know, obviously, you need all three phases to work. You need offense, defense, and special teams. But if you had to choose one, who would you choose? And the reason I ask you this question is because typically in a backup quarterback scenario, the narrative is pretty straightforward. Everybody else on the team needs to produce in a way that supports the team because a backup quarterback usually is not expected to come in and do what people seem to be expecting Mac Jones to do for the San Francisco 49ers this Sunday. Because of the history of Kyle Shanahan wanting to draft Mac Jones once upon a time, reportedly, the narrative is so different than normal around a backup quarterback situation. So we're going to be going into both sides. We're going to look at offense and defense a little bit today. But I'm just curious, from your perspective, which one do you need to step up bigger in order to win this game? For me, I always kind of strive on the backup quarterback scenario to look at the defense and say defensively, they need to make this game. They held Seattle to 13 points. They can hold the Saints to less. Can't they? I'd like to believe they can. And I usually would go that way, and I'm still tempted to go that way. But I'm seeing a lot of interesting narratives around Mac Jones and his success leading the 49ers. I'm seeing crazy things like Mac Jones is going to win the next 4 games and Brock Purdy's going to come back and they're going to let Mac Jones start. I mean, there's a wild narrative out there because of this Kyle Shanahan, Mac Jones old, relationship, who, of course, in the end did not draft Mac Jones, which is something we need to also remember. But all of that being said, I look forward to seeing what you say here. For me, on the offensive side, I think we should be looking a lot more to the running back room, who stacks up really well against this weak New Orleans Saints defense, but also a weak run stuffing, okay? Weak in that area. They were really high in coverage, but whatever. The point is, I think you look at your running back room and say, I want to see Christian McCaffrey get after. I want to see Brian Robinson Jr. get after. I want to see Isaac Guerrero and Jordan James get a few snaps, maybe even. Let's run the ball hard, and let's take less pressure or put less pressure on our quarterback to make big plays. I do not want to see Mac Jones trying to be a Superman. I don't want him to see him go out there and try to do things he's not used to doing, and I definitely don't want to see him take over the reins of an offense in having had 1 week to prepare and having had not an entire offseason to build a scheme around him. I don't want to see him coming in there and trying to do anything extra special. I want him taking less risks. I'm okay with Brock Purdy taking some risks because I believe those are calculated risks based on the offense that was schemed around him. I do not want to see Mac Jones taking those kinds of risks. I want him playing safe. I want him doing the easy outs. I want him on checkdowns. I want a simple game from him. That's just my personal opinion. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the comments. As always, you guys are awesome. Let's get into a few reports. Then we're going to get to that rookie who is going to be a problem, and I'm going to tell you why in a few minutes as well. But first, Brock Purdy. There's some hope for Brock Purdy's injury recovery that we have yet to talk about. So we got to get to this first, okay? So Eric Branch wrote a great article. I'm not going to read the whole article to you. You can go check out his article over on the San Francisco Chronicle. But San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy entered the locker room Thursday wearing sneakers and walking without a noticeable limp. That seems like a good sign to an armchair doctor when it comes to the severity of Purdy's toe injury, but is it actually significant? That's a good question. 49ers fans, all fans, sports fans need to ask questions like that more often. Here's what I'm seeing. Is that real? Is that legit? After all, Purdy was able to play the final 2+ quarters in last Sunday's win at Seattle after he suffered what can be a debilitating injury for NFL players. And there was no sign that he hobbled for the remainder of the game. And of course, you could say, That's adrenaline. You can say whatever you want. I don't know. But the good news for the 49ers fans is this. Dr. Kenneth Jung, a foot and ankle surgeon who consults with the Los Angeles Rams, sees Purdy's footwear and gait as significant when it comes to his injury. Purdy reportedly could miss 2 to 5 weeks with a variant of turf toe, but there are signs, such as the absence of a walking boot on his injured foot 4 days after he was hurt, that he could return on the quicker end of that timeline. Here's the actual quote. You'll see athletes with turf toe injuries in a boot because they just need to let things settle. If he's wearing sneakers, that in itself is a good sign. That would seem to suggest a lower grade sprain than an injury where things are totally disrupted. So there you go. Take it for what it is. This is a guy who knows foot and ankle injuries. This is a guy who understands this at an NFL caliber level. And he's saying, doesn't look so bad. Could be a good sign. We heard something similar from John Lynch earlier this week on KNBR, saying that they went into it and came out of it, after coming out of the MRI scan, feeling better than they went going into it, believing it was going to be worse than it ended up being. That's also a really good sign. Let's talk about Mac Jones now. There's some hope for Mac Jones, of course, coming into this system, hoping that he's going to be a really good scheme fit with Kyle Shanahan. That's always been the belief. And there's a chance he could play really good football. Dominic Puny had something to say about Mac Jones that I think is fascinating. But before I get to that, I should also say what Dominic Puny, how he addressed his own performance, which was not great last weekend. Here's what Dominic Puny said, looking back on his performance. Rusty for sure. I think I got hurt at an untimely time. To miss the last 2 weeks of camp, there's really probably the most important time. And then to come back for just a week of practice and try to get 2 really good practices and then go out there and play live football again for the first time in however long, I was definitely rusty. But I'm glad I played. I played through the knee, got comfortable with it. That was my biggest thing. I just wanted to make sure I could still play football and I was comfortable. And now I feel good. Football is back might be the biggest understatement of the year in the sporting world. What an opening week of football. If you haven't yet, you might need to think about making it a little more interesting with DraftKings Sportsbook. You can interact before the game as you project what you think is going to happen in this any given Sunday league, or you can get involved right in the middle of the action live as it's happening. Either way, my partners over at DraftKings Sportsbook want to hook you up. New customers can sign up today, place a $5 bet, and get $200 in bonus bets. All of that just by using my promo code STSF. If you thought last weekend was good, just wait. It is only going to get better. There are a bunch of electric games on the schedule again for this weekend. Whether you're interested in the spread, same game parlays, anytime TDs, you name it, you don't need to look any further than DraftKings Sportsbook. The next great touchdown is absolutely coming, and if you want to make it a little more interesting, consider joining DraftKings Sportsbook today. Signing up as a new customer, placing a $5 bet, and getting $200 in bonus bets. All of that just by using my promo code STSF. He talked about Chris Furster and his support as well. There was a lot of good stuff there. You should check out the full article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But here's what Dominic Puny said, and this was written by David Bonilla, 49ers Web Zone, by the way. Here's what Dominic Puny said about Mac Jones. He walks in the huddle and commands it. He has so much experience with the Patriots. He has so much playing time. He's not new to it. That's the good thing. Our number 2 quarterback is very experienced, and he's a vet. And you know he's a backup quarterback in this league. Based on what he's done so far in the NFL, he belongs as a backup quarterback. But when you put him up across from Spencer Rattler, and you say, between these 2 guys, who's better? I'm going Mac Jones's way. I'm going now, even though he's a backup quarterback, technically in this league. But I also think that Spencer Rattler isn't exactly playing at a starting quarterback level either. So I think this is good news for the 49ers. I'm happy to hear guys like Dominic Puny really impressed by how Mac Jones is carrying himself, going in there, acting like a leader, carrying, commanding the presence, commanding the what's it called? The huddle, right? All of that. Really good. I'm happy about that. Let's get to a rookie. On the other side of the ball, who is going to be a problem for the New Orleans Saints. And young quarterback Spencer Rattler, here is what Kyle Shanahan said. This came out just today, but, they do these videos with Matt Miyoko. Here's what Kyle Shanahan had to say about Marquise Siegel.
Marquise Siegel, who wasn't one of those first 5 defensive players drafted that people were talking about, drafted a little bit later, but man, he just, from training camp on, he's really opened eyes. What did you see from him?
No, exactly like that. I mean, he missed OTAs. I'm coming off a college injury, but since he's come back into training camp, he's jumped off the practice field. I think he did well in the preseason games, but we had a feeling about this guy from kind of the first week. We were hoping that he'd be that way, studying him at Kansas State. He came in, looked that way really early. It continued that way, and I was just hoping that he'd look that way in the game, and he did, which is a really good sign for the Niners.
Really good sign for the Niners. Yes, Marquise Siegel has been impressive in ways that you don't expect a rookie, especially pick 160. You do not expect them to produce in the way that they have, to hit open field tackles with confidence and clarity and vision, accuracy, all of that. He's acting like a guy who's been in the NFL, which is always a really, really good sign. And you're getting a lot of value out of a guy picked so late in the draft. Considering the number of guys, Matt Miyoko pointed out, the 5 defensive players drafted earlier than him, you got to give Marquise Siegel his flowers for sure. I want to get to one other aspect of the defensive side of football. This one completely blew my mind. And if you haven't seen it yet, it might blow yours too. I cannot believe this, okay? Now, Mykel Williams comes out of his first week in the NFL. It was a tough day for him. It was not an easy opportunity for Mykel Williams to go in there as the number 11 overall draft pick of 2025 and make an immediate impact. And the reason that it wasn't as easy for him is a lot deeper than I realized watching the game live. This stat came out. This is an unbelievable stat. I honestly could not believe this when I saw it. I literally double take, triple take, like what? Hold on. So this is the double edge, most frequently double covered and chip blocked, okay? This is the rate at which he was covered, double covered or chip blocked. Mykel Williams on there, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know how big that is. He was double covered 66.7% of the time. 2/3 of the time, 2/3 of the snaps, Mykel Williams was out there. He was double covered. On top of that, he was chip blocked 27% of the time. So in total, he had 94.4% of his snaps where he was either double covered or chipped. Think about that for a second. That's more than Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt. They are going hard on Mykel Williams in week 1. Interesting, right? I think that's interesting for a lot of reasons. Number one, Nick Bosa is not at the top of that list. I didn't even look to see where he is. I don't see him on the list right now. Yeah, I don't see him on there. That is fascinating. And Nick Bosa, of course, took advantage of that opportunity, and he made the most of it. Obviously, Nick Bosa had more snaps than Mykel Williams. That's the whole nother thing. But unbelievable that you would play that hard against a rookie defensive end whose job is not, they did not bring him in here week 1 to be a pass rusher. They brought him in here to set the edge. They brought him in here to stop the run. And they went hard on him. They attacked that side of the football, or that side of the line. They went that direction on runs a lot, and that was a very coordinated effort to try to make the most of a rookie on the edge. So my hat's off to you, man. My hat's off to you, because that was a really tough introduction to the National Football League. And you know what? It worked for the Seattle Seahawks in a lot of ways. It didn't work in the sense that when it came down to it, when it really mattered, Nick Bosa on that 101 forced a fumble through the right tackle. I mean, he pushed the right tackle into Sam Darnold. So, clearly that wasn't the best game plan for the Seattle Seahawks. But when you look at the bottom right-hand corner, all the way down on the bottom over there, you see Mykel Williams as most double-team and chip percentage, right? So he's double-teamed like crazy. And he has zero 0% or 0 pressures. I don't know if that's a total number, if that's a percentage. Yeah, 0% of his snaps turned into pressures. So on the quarterback. So let's see what happens this week. Let's see what the New Orleans Saints do. Maybe Mykel Williams actually played better than we all gave him credit for because of what he was up against. I can't wait to see how that one plays out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, appreciate you guys and hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend as we are one day away from the New Orleans Saints. Going to be an electric game in certain ways. Probably defensively, but it's also going to be fascinating to watch how Mac Jones plays under Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers scheme things up, how much, leash they give Mac Jones to throw the ball. All of that's going to be fascinating. I look forward to seeing all of it and seeing what your comments are on this video. Appreciate you guys. Have a good race for weekend.